What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a way that you can quickly establish and germinate your grass seed. Maybe you're in the process of doing a full renovation, or maybe you're overseeding and you don't have enough time to keep up with water until the seed germinates while the seed is actually down in the lawn. You can actually pre-germinate the seed. It's actually a really easy process to do. A couple of simple steps will get you in the right direction. Now for this step, this is step one, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting the seed in the water. So I've got a 5-gallon bucket and I have filled about 1.5 gallons of water inside the bucket. Depending on how much seed you plan to germinate ahead of time, you may need to get a larger receptacle than a 5-gallon bucket, but just for this example, this is what I'm going with. I'm also going to use a cheesecloth. The cheesecloth is permeable, it'll hold the seed, but it'll also allow water to move in throughout when we've got the seed inside the bucket. And then I'm also using a tall fescue called Regenerate tall fescue. This is an elite variety of turf type tall fescue. You can use pretty much any seed that you want, whether that's Bermuda, ryegrass, bluegrass, bent grass, you name it. You can germinate and pre-germinate the seed whichever way you want to go about doing it. I'm doing Regenerate. That was provided to me by the Swell Seed Company. If you haven't checked out the Swell Seed Company, they have a lot of really nice varieties for sale online. They have really good prices and free shipping. This is a landmark variety. Regenerate is a really nice cultivar. You can also find some bluegrass and some other mixes that they have on there as well. They've got pretty decent prices for online sales, even though grass seed prices are going through the roof. So let's go ahead and get started with the process in step one of actually getting the seed in the bucket, and then talk about what we need to do in order to carry this process out into step two. All right, so for step one, I've got my cheesecloth all laid out. You don't have to use cheesecloth. This is just what I had on hand. If you have a burlap sack or something that just has a permeable side to it where the water can flow through it, go ahead and use that. Anything that will just keep the seed contained is going to be perfect. So I've also got a rubber band I'm going to use to fasten the top as we bring the cheesecloth together. It's going to keep all of the seed inside of the cheesecloth. So essentially all that you need to do is open your seed. I've got 5 pounds of tall fescue here, and I'm just going to sort of lay that out in the middle of my cheesecloth. Just like that. Really simple. And then I'm going to take all my corners and I'm going to bring those together. Make sure that it's all sealed and tight. Take the rubber band, make sure that I've got it taken care of at the top where I have a place that I can actually grab the cheesecloth. And then from this point, all you got to do is drop your seed in the water. So 12 hours from now, we'll go ahead and we'll change the water out in this bucket. We'll do that for the next 2 or 3 days as we keep an eye on the seed to see if we can see any germination happening. And then we'll move on to step two. Alright, so now as we move into step two, this is a very simple process of just simply changing the water. You want to do that between every 12 and 24 hours and keeping an eye on the seed to see if you can see any cracking going on, or if you can see a root tip sort of emerging from the grass seed. Depending on if you're doing a rye or a fescue or a bluegrass, this may be a different timetable depending on what type of seed you're doing. But fescue is generally going to be between 2 and 3 days. And I actually saw some cracking on day 3, and if I looked closely enough, I could see the root tip emerging from the seed. So this is when you know that it's time to go ahead and start mixing the seed with the fertilizer, using that as a catalyst to actually get the seed out into the lawn. And as long as you're using a fertilizer that has a low salt index, so something like a biosolid fertilizer is going to work great for this instance. If you have something on hand that has a low salt index, go ahead and use that, as you're generally going to want to use a starter fertilizer anyway when you overseed. So at this point in time, it's okay to go ahead and start drying the seed out and mixing it in with the fertilizer. And now what I would call step 3 in the process really is just you want to drain all of the water out of the seed or the seed bag that you're using. and let the seed dry out just a little bit before you mix it with your fertilizer. I'm just using a big box store biosolid fertilizer that I got that has a very low NPK ratio. I wanted to use that because I know that it's going to be easy for me to see it go out into the lawn, and by using a 36-pound bag, it's going to give me plenty of carrier to mix this 5-pound seed with. So at this point, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drain and dry the seed out a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and mix it in with the fertilizer in a bucket separately, and then I'm going to dump all of that product into the hopper on my fertilizer spreader. And in this case, I'm using a broadcast spreader to go ahead and put the seed out on the lawn. So once we did that on day 3, now today is day 7, and it's time to check out the results that I've got from the seed that I put out. We'll see if we have any sort of grass blades sticking up or kind of the progress that we've seen to this point. So let's go ahead and go out in the lawn and take a look. So we're out in the backyard on the morning of day 7, and this lawn hasn't been cut in a little bit over a week, so it's looking a little bit shaggy. But what I can say is that I've noticed a big difference in the way that the lawn appears just from looking at it after aerating, doing the overseed with the pre-germinated seed, and then before I did that, I went ahead and did a really good dethatch because I wanted to thin this out quite a bit to try and incorporate the new seed. And the reason that I did that is because at the top of the hill over here behind me, earlier this spring, I did a video about how to fix your crappy lawn, and at that time I used a different seed blend that's a little bit more shade tolerant, that has a little bit of titanium 2LS and also some 4th millennium tall fescue. And what ended up happening is the half of my lawn up at the top of the hill was significantly darker than the rest of the grass, and it bothered me, which is kind of the motivation to do this project. So what I did is I thinned out this section of the lawn quite a bit down here at the bottom, and I cleared out a couple of spots where I was having some issue with POA. I had a lot of Dallas grass and goose grass, and so I went ahead and just kind of killed a couple of sections off and then reseeded that. And then it would also give me an opportunity to kind of look at the progress of the pre-germinated seed in an isolated area where I didn't have a lot of grass cover. And just by looking down in the canopy, I can actually see a lot of grass blades sticking up here on day 7, and we'll actually take a look at one of those sections now where it's completely bare except for the grass that we just planted. So this spot was completely bare. As you can see, I still have some of the biosolid fertilizer in here that hasn't broken down yet. It feels really soft, like it's breaking up in my hand. So it's starting to break down, but what you notice here is all of these little baby grass plants are about an inch. In some cases, some of them are a little taller than an inch. And this was all the grass that was put out here only 4 days ago. Now, one thing I've noticed with tall fescue over the years and planting tall fescue is generally you get germination if you put it right into bare dirt. Around day 3, if you're lucky, sometimes between 5 and 6 days, and then you get, a short grass plant that pops up, and it's going to be that way for about a week. But with pre-germinating the seed and then putting it out into the lawn and keeping it moist, I've actually got grass plants that are almost over an inch at this point just in 7 days, which is actually pretty impressive. So I think the process actually shaved a couple of days off of the amount of time where you can get the grass to grow a little bit taller. So usually around, when the grass plant is about 2 inches, 2¼ inches, you want to go ahead and mow it. So I'm probably only a few days away from a mow on this grass already, and it's only been 1 week. Germination time also has a little bit, actually it has a lot to do with the seed and the quality of seed that you're using. In this case, I'm using Regenerate tall fescue that I mentioned. When I looked into that particular variety, Regenerate is a very strong, almost an elite quality type of seed that I got from the Swell Seed Company. I'll link that in the description below where you can find that. But so far, I'm really happy. I'm really interested to document through the rest of the season how the color changes, the thickness, the density, just the overall appearance of this backyard as we transition more into the fall time of year, coming out of summer, which is the best time for cool season grass. So I hope you guys took something from this video. One thing that I will say is I did not realize how easy it was to pre-germinate seed. I had heard of people pre-germinating seed in the past, and I didn't realize how simple of a process it was. I thought it was intimidating. Honestly, anyone can do this. It's really simple, and a couple of advantages that you get from it is, one, that you don't have to water as much, and I say that because you're simply just soaking the seed in the bucket over a course of a few days and changing that water out. That's like a gallon or 2 gallons of water at a time. Whereas, if you were to put the seed down onto a seed bed in the lawn and you were watering that, 3 times a day at 15 minutes, I think is what most people generally like to do, you're going to use a lot more water doing that. So you're saving water, you're saving time, And then, this is also something that's good if you're kind of running up on some timelines for frost dates that are coming near. Sometime in October is usually when we get our first frost here in Missouri. So if you're kind of running behind on getting your seed out, pre-germinating would be a good option for you. So this process is really cool. It's really simple. I'm definitely going to do this more often for my own seeding projects. But I hope you guys, you really took something from this video. You enjoyed the content. I certainly enjoyed doing this video. This was a fun one for me. So don't forget, as always, give me a like. Give me a dislike too. I know some people really enjoy doing that. So give me a dislike, give me a like. Leave me some comments down in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.